There's an expression that says sticks and stones may break my bones, but a word could never hurt me. It's an old expression. Everybody knows it. I don't know if you have it in other languages. And I think it's needed more than ever right now at this point in time. When we look back at the last 100 years, you could say we have the best of everything now. We have an excess, more than we need. And yet, what is missing, now that most of us are able to eat and watch videos like this, what do we really need? I would answer that in two parts. I think first we need peace, and not external peace, not peace that is dependent on anything external, but inner peace. Such a strong inner peace that is unbroken by external circumstances and certainly word. And that brings me to what we need externally, and that is acceptance. Acceptance of whatever is going on, whether that's something extreme like things falling from the sky or something as benign as words. We should be seeking for a peace that is so true and authentic that it's unbothered by words. Words are whatever you think they mean, just like reality is what you believe it is. Here I asked the robot, why do Australians call each other cunt? And it told me, great question. In Australia, the word is used in a much more casual and varied way. The word can be affectionate, can also be descriptive, and sometimes it can be aggressive. So it's not about the word itself, it's about how it's said and who it's said to. And I would add by how it's interpreted, how it's received. The word itself doesn't hurt anybody, any word. And if your peace is dependent on word or sound, smells, or anything external, then it's not true peace. And I think true peace can be found within. We don't need others to act a certain way or say the things that we want to hear. In fact, we don't need anything. So for this week, I thank you for being here. I love you all. God bless and welcome. Here I'm looking at the history of Buffalo, New York. Were there ever buffalo in Buffalo? They say they roamed the whole continent once. Here we can see that the population in 2010 is a little over 200,000. And what we also see is the population is similar to what it was in 1890, 200,000. So mind you, as you see this city today, or this is 1973, we are told the population was equal in 1890 with horse and wagon. So they don't even know the history of the name, at least this site. We're told it was the Seneca Indian who lived here. Love the Seneca. Look how advanced. What is up with the Seneca? What is he smoking? Look at his ears. His jewelry. This is a Native American? Yes. This is a portrait by Frederick Bartoli in 1796. So Buffalo and the Seneca, either whose name meant buffalo or who had the physical characteristics of the buffalo. I don't know. Another theory holds that the name comes from a French name that sounds kind of like buffalo. That means beautiful river. But the earliest known name origin theory comes from a published something by a Sheldon Ball, and the book was called Buffalo. Maybe it's just a pamphlet. Sounds very interesting. Back to Buffalo. Not even sure where it got its name, and really reaching its peak population around 1920, 1930, absolutely peaking in 1950. But here we can see her in 1911. We can see these immense buildings. Looks like some early automobiles, trolleys, just built out and old and seasoned, perhaps too seasoned. But we're not really here to look at the history of the city, at least, although I'm sure it's very interesting. We are here to look at something that took place in this city in 1901. And here's a little glimpse of that. Let's take a pause. So 1901, in the city of Buffalo, we have this display. Another fair. How exciting. How lucky these people were. Fairs everywhere. Sure, they seem boring, but how beautiful. A lot of walking around, it seems. Miles you might walk one of these fairs, walking from building, building. But how fortunate, a world of fairs. Look at the expenditure in just this photo. These towers in the background. This building. People who cling to the accepted history will repeat what they tell us. These are temporary. This is a temporary building. And I don't care what it's made of. Anything. Paper, cake, dung. I mean, why spend so much on this building and then have these cheap wooden chairs? I mean, why wouldn't you just build an amphitheater out here? Clearly, you can do any towers. And that's another point. You can't build a temporary tower. I mean, it has to be structurally sound. And in order to be structurally sound, it must be built the same way as something that's permanent. We, of course, hypothesize that there was no such building on the part of these people, only moving in, having a fair, charging ticket admissions, and then demolishing everything. And really, I question if there even was a fair. I mean, does this really look like a fair? This is boring. Beautiful. Boring. I mean, what do you want at a fair? Amusements, food, and maybe a concert and a bathroom. But not this. Fair is not about big buildings. Now, if you're new to my channel, I want to stress that I don't know. I'm only asking the questions. This will be presented as absolute truth to people looking into this subject, and I'm only here to question what we are told is the absolute truth. I think it's our duty, all of ours, to question everything. Question the rightness or wrongness of everything you are told. And if you haven't questioned the things you are told, beginning with your parents, your teachers, your government, then you will easily be controlled and programmed to live life in a certain way, to accommodate the needs of others, whether the intentions are for your greatest good and align with your values and your desires. So anyway, back to this fair and back to these questions. This fair, and from what I understand, Buffalo today is pretty run down. Again, we saw the population peaked in 1950 and has only declined back to 1890 levels. And here we can see in 1901 from May 1st to November of 1901. So 6 months or so, 350 acres. All this, 6 months? I mean, if this was just laid out as a garden, probably take years. I mean, what's more realistic? That this was all here? Again, early 1900. Many of the fairs don't have power, some of the earliest ones. Power, at least mainstream distribution of it, was unveiled at the Chicago World's Fair only a few years earlier, and now another one in Buffalo. President McKinley was taken out. Really, we don't hear much about McKinley's dethroning, at least I didn't. And here we go. Let's get down to it. What did they build for this 6-month fair? Let's take a pause. Okay, first building. The agriculture building. So we see horse and wagon. Even though it's 1901, we are told, all I see is horse and wagon here. So all this is being built with this mode of transportation. All these materials have been assembled thanks to these horses and flatbed carts, as we can see here. All the statues, and we're also told this is temporary, mind you. We see terracotta on the roof, just the weight of the terracotta. And here we see a little ladder back here, so still kind of under construction down here, but all complete up here. Flags put up, even the artwork up here is done before this portion in the front. And then somebody had to bring the ladder up here, an afterthought. How about this one? Let's just get right into it. The electric tower. There we go. Which one is the electric tower? So many towers. So much tech. Too teched out. I mean, look at this thing. Some portal. The excess and frivolosity is beyond understanding. temporary? Just this is enough. Just this part would be monumental. And again, there's no way you build up and temporary. It must support all of this weight. This is permanence. Statue on top? I mean, the crane that would be needed. The crane. Today, this would be an impressive crane. And we don't see any of that. We just see this old, overly detailed building. Look at this. And why? It's all outdoors. It's not even functional. It's just beautiful. Fountains. And look at this fair. Look how boring. Look at this shit on the streets. The amount of shit on these brick streets. Sorry, I didn't know what I was getting into. I mean, I did and I didn't. This is too much. Too much of everything. Too much beauty. Too much bullshit. 1901, we saw the construction scene. Down here, they're still working. We see a horse with a load of wood. Looks like 2x6 wood planks, maybe 8-footers. All horse and wagon here, 1901. Fountains, no concessions. I mean, I'm right there with these people. Here I am looking for some food. Some kind of tent. I mean, why would you even have a tent? You should have some beautiful food court like this. There should be no tents in a world like this. And yet that's what we get. It's just cheap wooden junky displays alongside this. This is sick and totally unnecessary for anything at all in this time period where the horses are shitting on the streets. Let's take a pause. Sorry, I'm really passionate tonight or something. I'm having a little fire outside, and then I came in and started making this video. Perhaps the fire charged my chakras. I do think it's like that. Fire, or even sitting by a river. All the elements will charge you. I mean, we are those elements. So a little boost would only help heal. A whole science there. And a whole science here with these buildings. This tech. This is all tech. Otherwise, nobody cares. These people don't care. Come on. Shit on the streets? Watch your step there, Harry. I know this fair is so grotesque. I'll have to get a new pair of shoes after this. Well, the buildings sure are beautiful. Yes, they sure are, Bob. Where should we go next? Well, there's another castle over there. Suppose we ought to check it out. And what would you do here? I ask you, what would interest you, other than gawking at these marvelous buildings, asking the questions we are now? This fair doesn't look fun. There's no children, and a child would be absolutely bored at this boring fair. And I want you to look at this page here. Let's just make it very clear. Buildings and exhibits. Manufacturers building, demolished. Electric tower, demolished. Electricity building, demolished. Ethnology building, demolished. And it goes on and on. All of them. And again, I think this is absolute common sense. You can't build temporary structures like this. We see metal on the roof. Let's imagine that this is made of something temporary. Again, still absolutely impressive. I mean, it was permanent enough to last for 6 months in buffalo weather. And buffalo weather is pretty brutal. Snowy, rainy. Seems to be a little pocket. It just seems to catch the weather. The lake, glass, brick streets. And for 6 months, who would build all of this again out of anything for 6 months? I would challenge anyone to rebuild this city in the short amount of time we are told they did. Most of these fairs were built in a year, we are told. Some of the fairs, like Chicago and St. Louis, having up to 200 buildings. 200 buildings like this. Absolute treasures. I told you I was an electrician at a hospital, unlicensed, and we would wire new additions to the hospital. Crew of 5. And this would take years with a crew of 100 to wire just the electricity. I mean, this thing is 10 times larger than the hospital. Probably larger than any hospital. And whatever it was, they demolished it. Come on. Why? If you even managed to build it, why would you ever demolish it? This? It would be a crime. If the story was true, it would be a crime to demolish this structure. Let's take a pause. Here we can see a stadium. Just like I was saying earlier, why wouldn't they build an amphitheater? And here it is. Great amphitheater. Had a seating capacity of 12,000. Pretty amazing. Again, why wouldn't you keep it? Look at the tower. And they're having a reenactment or a sham battle for the spectator. Here we go. It looks like about 25% capacity. And demolished. All that. It was good enough for seating all these people, but no, tear it down. Temple of Music, Temple of Music. There we go. Temple. I always say how the temple is used as facilitating this BS narrative. And here we have a non-religious temple. Temple of Music. Just beautiful. Every part of it looks like as permanent as any permanent structure. So when the fair ended, again after 6 months, contents of the ground were sold to the Chicago House Wrecking Company for $92,000. Demolition began in 1902, and within a year, most of the buildings were gone. Grounds were then cleared and subdivided to be used for residential streets, homes, and parks. Similar to previous World's Fairs, most of the buildings were constructed of timber and steel framing, with precast staff panels made of a plaster and fiber mix, a means of rapid construction. Again, it's timber and steel. That's what we use to build today. Everything. You have to set timber and steel on concrete. You don't just set it on dirt. No mention of this. And if you set it on dirt, it crumbles. Prior to the demolition, a public committee tried to preserve the electric tower from being demolished. However, the necessary funding could not be raised in time. The necessary funding. They only needed $100,000 to outbid this wrecking company's purchase price. So, like I started off the video with, I don't know. But I know what it seems like. I would love to hear your thoughts. But for this week, I think I've said enough. I love you all. God bless. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bonus. Here I've asked the robot, can you sum up the weird discoveries revealed in Enoch? Tells me absolutely. The book of Enoch, especially Enoch 1, the most well-known part, is full of strange and fascinating material that didn't make it into the Bible. It offers a different view of angels, the cosmos, and humanity's origins. Here's a summary of the weirdest discoveries in it. The fallen angels, or the Watchers, a group of 200 angels, descend to Earth on Mount Hermon. I believe there's a ski resort today on Mount Hermon. They were supposed to watch over humans, but instead they rebelled and mated with human women. Their children became the Nephilim, giant, violent hybrids that devour everything. Forbidden knowledge given to humans. The Watchers teach humans all sorts of forbidden arts, including sorcery and astrology, metalworking and weapon making, cosmetics, and seduction. These teachings are blamed for corrupting humanity. Very interesting. Now talking about the realm. And what reminded me of it is this picture. I'll flash this picture on the screen real quick. And Enoch is taken on a guided tour of the heavens and the underworlds by the angels. Cosmos are described as having multiple layers, just like this picture. There are storehouses, or basically machinery, for winds, snow, hail, and stars. And I would take it further than the robot. There's also locusts that come from these portals or storehouses, and angelic forces managing celestial bodies like the sun and moon. So the management of the machine. And the fallen angels are punished. The rebel angels are bound and cast into Tartarus, a kind of underworld prison. The book includes apocalyptic imagery, rivers of fire, armies of angels, and the resurrection of the dead. And I have a video where I read directly from the book of Enoch, a good video to just listen to.